All right, everybody, welcome back into Mining Stock Daily. Busy day here on the podcast as we begin to wrap up the week into a long Easter weekend. Markets will be closed tomorrow in the U.S., and then but we will be airing the long form as well to get us into the weekend, and then probably back, I guess, on Tuesday next week. But we're trying to wrap things up. We're going to head back up to the Golden Triangle with Kingfisher Metals in this episode. They do trade on the Venture with KFR and on the OTCQB with KGF MF. This morning, they put out an update on some geophysical data that came out from the Hank copper gold discovery area there in the Highway 37 project. And actually, the market likes to see the geophysicals. That's up 6%, up 4 cents this morning. Still a $90 million Canadian market cap. So we brought in CEO Dustin Perry to walk us through this. Hey, Dustin, good to see you. How you been, man?
I'm well, Trevor. How are you?
You know, things happening. Geopolitics, I'm good. My physical self is good. How about that?
That's
all
good.
right. Let's walk us through the data set. You've expanded that footprint at Hank. What specifically changed in your understanding of the system that gives you confidence that this is a much larger porphyry target than initially thought?
Okay, so the big key here is that there's multiple geophysical data sets that are all pointing to the same spot. So just to get it out of the way, there's a lot of very technically heavy, a lot of jargon at the back end of this release. Tried to simplify the highlights. I'll get into explaining a little bit of this. One thing I will say though, and it's funny, I had a chat with Antonio, like Resource Talks Antonio, on the phone yesterday, and
second
we were talking
best
about
podcast in mining, by the way.
we were talking about how you can actually, like, we've always put a lot of technical information in our news releases because we want to show people that we understand things. But I understand that a lot of people aren't going to understand that, and I know that a lot of technical CEOs often make that mistake of thinking everybody understands geospeak. But with the advent of ChatGPT, you can put a news release into ChatGPT. So I made sure to do that before we disseminated this, just to make sure that it would send the same message when going through an LLM. So basically, what you're seeing here are multiple data sets. There's already been a fair bit of IP work, so that's ground surveys shooting electricity into the ground, which then gives you a chargeable response when you have sulfides in the area, which indicates the sulfide system, which is what a porphyry system is. That being said, chargeability often, it could only show pyrite. So it doesn't necessarily mean you have copper there, but it is showing a sulfide system, and we already know there's copper in it based on drilling. So we expanded upon the IP survey. We had a 3D inversion done. We also flew an MMT, so a mobile MT survey, similar to a ZTEM survey. It's what's called a passive source electromagnetic survey. It's a helicopter flying over. They need to do it in the summertime so that there are nearby or relatively nearby lightning strikes are the energy source. And the ground, we didn't have lightning anywhere near, but somewhere in Alberta, probably 1,000 kilometers away, there's lightning striking, and it's able to use these sensors to determine the resistivity or the conductivity of the rock. So low resistivity is conductive, and high resistivity is not conductive. And this type of survey, it's not a magic bullet. It's not necessarily going to tell you exactly where to point the drill, but it is highlighting a large system here. And it's highlighting the lithocap alteration, but you also see kind of a mushroom shape to it, which is showing kind of like a plume. It's deeply rooted. One issue with these surveys is if you do have really conductive material near surface, it's quite difficult to image, say, the conductive roots to something at depth. So there is a limitation. It gets a little fuzzier at depth and it's not as obvious, but we do see what appears to be the plumbing, which for this system, which is centered basically right in the middle of this anomaly. And we also got more magnetic data with this survey that's I would argue, higher quality than the data that was already there, and it covered a broader area. And we had all this work, the IP, the MMT, and the magnetics. Different consultants did inversions on all this to create a 3D product. And we've gone through all this in 3D with the geochem, the geology, the drilling, all these different ideas in mind. And I would say that this Gail, our chief geo, and I were talking about this going into it. This target just keeps on getting better. Our goal as geologists, and the way we operate an ethical exploration company, is to kill targets and hopefully move on to the next. Some companies like to just kick the can down the road and waste capital and spend the bulk of it at Cactus Club. But we're actually trying to make a discovery here. And the way you do that is you go through targets and you kill them as quickly as you can. And we can't kill this. It just keeps on getting better, and it gets bigger, actually, which you could argue maybe it's a downside. Maybe it means it's going to be harder to find the center of it. But I don't think that's the case. I think we're pretty close to it because we already have a drill hole hitting grade that's not far off ore grade. I think this just shows that we're dealing with a really large system that has it's got what it takes if the drilling pans out. The scale is there to be a very large system. Like, call it tier 1 or whatever. I don't really like using that word, but you can just look at the other big deposits in the Golden Triangle as reference points, and this is the scale of the geophysical expression we're seeing here.
Good.
And this is just for Hank. We still we still have other targets to release. I didn't want to. This could have turned into a Bible, so I just wanted to put out one at a time. And this is this is our top target where the bulk of our drilling is going to go this year. So we wanted to focus on this first.
Yeah, makes sense. Dustin, walk us through, or maybe explain to us how previous drill results here are equally supportive of the geophysical data set that you published to the market today.
Okay, well, the only real deep hole we have here is the discovery hole, hole 11, that drilled 425 meters of 0.4% copper equivalent. So that hole, where it sits on the section, it's through pretty high chargeability, and that's due to it's predominantly pyrite in that drill hole. But if you look, I guess on the figure 2 in our presentation or in the news release, cross section line A, what you see there is a large chargeability anomaly, and the highest part of it isn't necessarily the best. We don't know. Like, geophysics nothing is ever definitive. It's more just, do you have multiple data sets pointing in the same location? So there's variable reasons for why that where that hole is could be a bit higher. There is an epithermal system overprinting it, which is bringing actually in a quite a bit more pyrite that could be part of that. The fact of the matter is that entire anomaly that you see on that section, the IP with the chargeability, which is about 2 kilometers wide, that could just be representative of the porphyry. It could be the whole thing. It could be part of it. We don't know yet. Like, there could be mineralization west of where we drilled. The thing that we really like, though, is that you see these other data sets as well. So if you look at the resistivity, which the DC, the direct current, which comes from when you do the IP survey, you're getting that data as well. It's showing these moderate conductors. They're not as conductive as the lithocap, and those look like they could be porphyry stocks. And given that we only hit a few very narrow dikes, like 1 to 2 meter scale in the drill hole, and it looks like we're approaching laterally the actual center of a system, that makes sense. And then looking at the magnetics really excites me. It's just clear you've got this large scale zone where things have changed. Everything, the background rocks were very magnetic, and then this porphyry came in and it actually destroyed a bunch of magnetite, but it's also created some. It's just really complicated. And that complication is due to a multi-phase system, which is what you need to create a big system. And that's what we're seeing, in the drill core. And we put some petrography results in here too. Gail's good at that. She's got one of the microscopes in her office. And so we're able to do that in-house. And, you're seeing indications of a really fertile system within these very narrow dikes, there's just a couple of them, but you're seeing bornite in there, which in itself is very significant because it shows that when you get into the guts of the system, it has the temperature required and the fertility or enrichment of copper to create bornite. And if you've got bornite, you can create really good grades. Williams has some really good grades in it. It just might not have the scale to make it on its own. Red Chris, you get into the grades there, it's all bornite. So that bodes well. Saddle, for example, had no bornite in it and still, still created a large deposit.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about using this in this coming season's exploration work. Obviously, the system's appears to be a lot larger than originally thought. About 1.7, more than 1.7 kilometer system now. So what does the next best hole look like at Hank using this system, and how is this data kind of pinpointing where you're going to put that hole?
So probably the next hole I would drill would just be inboard if we had one hole. To play it safe. But if we had more, our belief is actually going south from the hole we drilled, I guess towards section line B prime. That area really intrigues us, and we're seeing basically a feature that to the south that we think everything's coming in on, a fault that we believe is basically what's rooting this system. And we have more data sets that we didn't show in here. We can't show every single thing, but I guess if you look at our long section on there that goes, parallel to the regional trend, you can see a sub-vertical feature kind of emanating from a large magnetic anomaly that kind of comes close to surface. It rises to the south. That area in there is. That's where we think the deposit's going to be. And, the scale of the target there is definitely over 1 billion ton target, well over. I'm not promising that's going to be the size of a resource. I'm not promising we're even going to get a resource. I'm optimistic we will, though. And everything checks out right now. So the next step obviously is drilling, and luckily we're fully funded, and we'll be drilling in probably 10 weeks' time.
Oh, great. Dustin, seasoned resource speculators know that geophysical data isn't necessarily foolproof. It doesn't always convert into an economic deposit, but what makes Hank different in terms of vectors and alterations and structure with everything you've seen up to this point?
Well, we already have a hole into these anomalies showing that,
that helps.
They are mineralized. And so that's the first step. We also are in the right rocks in the right part of the world. So, as investors would say, we're hunting elephants in elephant country, but we truly are in the right rocks. So we've got that going for it. We also have probably one of the copper doesn't come to surface. It's overprinted with a telescoped epithermal system on top of it. So you've got a gold anomaly, which has to be one of the largest and highest strength gold anomalies in British Columbia, in soils sitting on top of this. You've got all the alteration mapped. You have a bona fide epithermal system with good grades on top of it. Damn close to 27 meters of 9 grams per ton sitting above this. So you have it has all the bells and whistles. It just needs to be drill tested now, and it's going to be an very exciting program. It's definitely the most exciting program of my career by a long shot going into this. I would argue this is the most exciting porphyry copper gold target to be drilled in Canada this summer. I would happily argue that.
I'll take it as a shareholder, wishing you nothing but incredible success in this exploration season, Dustin. And obviously we'll be covering the story as more news comes into the market and Highway 37 continues to progress through the drill bit and more exploration work. Dustin Perry, thanks so much for your time, and we'll probably talk to you again here next few weeks as you begin to mobilize.
Yeah, thanks, Trevor. Have a good long weekend.
Yep. Kingfisher Metals trades on the Venture with KFR and on the OTCQB with KGF, MF, Before we let you go, sorry about the cheap shot, Antonio. We love you. We do syndicate all of Resource Talks on the Clear Commodity Network. So if you're going to go watch Resource Talks, Antonio, make sure you go to clearcommodity.net and watch all that stuff. All right. I'll be back here in a little shortly, everybody. Be well.
The information presented should not be considered investment advice. Mining Stock Daily and its affiliates are not responsible for any loss arising from any investment decision in connection with the material presented herein. Please do your own research or speak with a licensed financial representative before making any investment decisions.